Welcome to A Year in the Bible with Daily Grace. The Bible tells one big story of redemption, and we want to spend 5 minutes every day journeying through the Bible from start to finish and exploring how all of it points to Jesus.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Year in the Bible with Daily Grace. My name is Alexa, and today we are going to go through the book of Philippians together. So let's dive in. In Philippians 1, Paul prays a prayer of thanksgiving to God for the Philippians. He thanks God for their partnership in the faith and prays that the Philippians would grow in their love, pursue what is holy, and bear fruit for God's glory. Paul also encourages the Philippians that even though he is in prison, his imprisonment has not prevented the gospel from being spread. Actually, his imprisonment has advanced the message of the gospel because it's being spread all throughout the guards that hold Paul prisoner. All Paul cares about is that the gospel is heard, and he wants his life to be a testimony to the gospel, even if he faces death. Paul declares to live is Christ and to die is gain, proclaiming that whether in life or in death, Christ will be proclaimed through him. In chapter 2, Paul encourages the Philippians to forsake selfish ambition and to be united in love and humility. Paul encourages the Philippians to have the same humble mindset of Jesus, who chose to leave his throne, be born as a human, and experience a humiliating death on the cross, all because of his mercy and grace. Paul also boasts of the lordship of Christ as Jesus was exalted by God after his death and placed at the right hand of the Father. Jesus' supreme lordship will cause all of creation to bow before him one day, but Paul desires for the Philippians to submit to Christ right now. He desires for their humble submission to Christ to motivate humble submission to one another, creating unity amongst the church. As the Philippians forsake selfish ambition, they will be like lights for the gospel in the dark city of Rome. In Philippians 3, Paul writes how having a relationship with Christ is worth losing worldly gain like status or fame. Paul desires to live with his eyes set on eternity, and he runs toward that end while growing in his knowledge of the Lord and growing in Christ-likeness. In Philippians 4, Paul asks for 2 women in the Philippian church to resolve their conflict. Paul desires for the Philippians to stand firm as one body, and this contention between believers is causing division rather than unity. Instead of being anxious and contentious, Paul encourages the Philippians to be a praying people who pursue and walk in holiness. Paul ends his letter thanking the Philippians for a financial gift they gave him. He acknowledges their gift with gratitude, but also declares how his contentment does not come from financial gain, but from Christ alone. There is so much wonderful truth and encouragement packed into these 4 chapters of Philippians. And all of this truth and encouragement is rooted in the message of the gospel in Philippians 2. The beautiful display of Christ's humility showed the Philippians, and us today, the lengths Jesus took to give us salvation. Jesus could have come as a boasting king, but he came as a humble servant. He chose to be lowly to save the lowly. And by his grace and mercy, Jesus died for us. And those of us who believe and trust in him are united to Christ and united to one another. All that we have as believers is rooted in our union with Christ. It was out of this incredible union that the Philippian church were to be partners for the gospel, and the same is true for us as believers today. It is by remaining rooted in the gospel that causes God's people to flourish. But our unity as believers and our witness as believers is hurt when we abandon the gospel and pursue after our own selfish ambition. Instead of being prideful, we are to be humble and seek to put others first before ourselves, just like Jesus did. All that we have is because of Christ, so may we lay down our pride and be a united people who are rooted in the gospel. Thanks so much for joining us today. Don't forget that you can follow along with us on Instagram at Daily Grace Podcast and at the Daily Grace Co. to receive updates, sneak peeks, and daily encouragement. You can even check out our website, thedailygraceco.com, for so many gospel-centered resources to help you grow in your faith. Thanks again for joining us, and we look forward to talking with you tomorrow.